Hi, welcome to my channel where I'm going to be reviewing different books that I've read, and as you can see I have an amazing high quality camera to do it on. Um, I sort of decided to move away from Goodreads reviews when I just write a review, when I just type it in and then I post it, to kind of talking about a book. Probably because I've been watching a lot of booktubers and I really like the way that a lot of them do it. It's just more interesting and more engaging. And it feels more real, I guess, when you see the person who's actually is talking about the book instead of just reading their thoughts. And if you're the kind of person who likes reading, I don't know, but sometimes you just don't feel like reading again. You just want to listen to people talk. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. So I'm going to be talking about The Evolution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hawken. Woohoo! So this is actually the second novel of the trilogy. So I actually read the first one years ago when it just came out. I think it was 2010, 2011, God, I don't even remember, and I made a mistake of not googling this before, but anyways, I read the first novel so long ago, and quite honestly, I just kind of hated it. I feel like a lot of people really hate Mara Dyer, like the trilogy, not just the character. Probably because it's just filled with so many tropes that you find in so many different YA novels, especially if it's like a fantasy YA. There's always gonna be like the hot guy and the girl who's not very pretty in her opinion, but like all the guys are swooning after her. Luckily, like Mara Dyer doesn't really have that in her novel that much. Like she has one love interest. There's like no like triangles or anything, which I thought was really a relief. I just loved the fact that it was just Mara and Noah, and there was like no unnecessary drama in that sense. Like in all honesty, like the trilogy is not even focusing all that much on their relationship. It focuses more on what has happened to Mara, what is the power that she has, why she has that power, sort of trying to figure these things out. And also Noah, why does he have all these special powers? And I even like made a list in here where I'm just like wrote a lot of things that I want to talk about and things that it's like a page and like a little bit. So I just wanted to talk about all these things, and I thought that they're important because I know like how much hate this trilogy gets, and quite frankly I haven't like heard it being discussed that often. Like people did mention it, but it doesn't like really get the attention that I thought it will get. I don't know why. I mean, there's a lot of great YA out there, maybe because it's sort of like an old book and old, and it came out before booktubing was like a thing as much as it is now. So I decided to sort of talk about this novel and kind of like try and kind of discuss the things that I loved and the things that I didn't like as much. So, first of all, I gave it 4 out of 5, which is very generous. Like, when it's like non-YA, I give like a lot of books like 3 stars out of 5. I'm like, damn, there you go. Like, that is written shitty, and that's what you get. So, like, don't think that, like, Mara Dyer is, like, the Citizen Kane of, like, YA or whatever. It's honestly not. It's, all in all, I just picked it up because, like, a while back, I just kind of grabbed it at the library, even though I hated the first one. And I read half of it, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And I just, like, returned it. But then I was, like, at a bookstore, and I had like a 6-hour journey back home, which was a lie. It was like a 7-hour journey on the bus. But I sort of picked up the novel and I was like, I need something to read. I might as well grab it, who knows. And I was like quite surprised by how much I loved it. Maybe because you need to be in a specific mindset to actually enjoy YA. I don't know. I feel like that's a huge part of it. You really sort of need to like put your prejudices aside, because YA is the kind of genre, especially fantasy YA, it gets so much shit, I feel. A lot of shit. Not always justified, in my opinion. Because it does have all these tropes, and I mean, it's so much easier to roast a book instead of praise it most of the time. And I could have done the same thing with Mara Dyer. I could have been reading that with a very cynical, sarcastic view, and would have been like, this book is it's awful, like it's horrible. But I decided not to be that person and actually read it critically and focus on the things I love instead of the things I hate, because it's always easier to hate something, right? Okay, so let's get into it. So the things that I really liked about Mara Dyer is her family. Like, parents in a lot of YA, especially if it's fantasy YA, parents are either they're non-existent, like the kid is an orphan, like in the Grisha trilogy and Harry Potter, and like the Infernal Devices, you know, whatever. Or the parents are just, you know, like absent parents. Like in the Wolves of Mercy Falls, Grace's parents are not really there for her. They're like, most of the time, they're like at work, and they were not at work. They're busy with their own things. They don't really care about their daughter. Same thing goes for Isabel's parents in Wolves of Mercy Falls. They're like too busy with their work. They don't really know what's going on with their kids, and they don't really care. They just throw money at them all the time, and they think that that's enough. Like Harry Potter, the guy was like an orphan, you know, enough said. And like honestly, like Hogwarts, kids could probably, and they probably did, like have sex in the like empty classrooms and no one even like knew about it. So like the list is extensive. Like Divergent, like the parents were like, Tris basically like lived in a underground weird camp thing, and like she got a tattoo, and probably she would not have gotten it if she was still living with her parents. The Hunger Games too, it's like no figures of authority other than like President Snow. Like, you know, basically you can do whatever it is you want to do, as long as you participate in the Hunger Games eventually. So in the Mara Dyer trilogy, Mara's family is very much present. Her parents really care about her. They really sort of want her to do well. They want her to get better. They are there for her. She has a very strong bond with her brother, her older brother Daniel. He really loves her. He really cares for her. She sacrifices a lot to keep them safe. In turn, they are actually very much aware of what's going on in her life. The fact that they don't really believe her is a different thing, but the fact is that her family is present, which I sort of find way more realistic than all these novels where like it seems like parents are non-existent. Because if you look at real life, for most of us, our parents are existent. They're very much existent. They are sort of very much aware of what's going on with us. Sometimes like way too like into everything that we're doing, but it was nice because I'm like, this is the way it usually is, and this is the way it should be. And I do want to read about a character that has positive support from her environment. I do wanna, like, it does make sense for Mara to be a strong heroine, which she is, by the way, because she has that love and that support, not because she does not have it. So I really love that element. Another thing, which I found funny, and I actually liked it, is the F-bomb. So the F-bomb is dropped so often in this novel, like Noah says fuck and shit, and same goes for Mara. And I love it because in a lot of YA, it seems like swearing is like, it's a non-issue. It's not real. It doesn't happen. And same goes for like sexual relations. Like a lot of them are like hinting, or there's like a makeout session and it's like, what is going on? Like I do understand that in a lot of YA, they don't really want to write about sex because then it becomes really racy, and like, I get that a lot of publishers don't want that. It's not even up to the author sometimes. Sometimes it's the publisher who will say, You know, we don't want descriptions of teens having sex. And I get it, but at the same time, it's like teenagers do have sex. And like it's, you know, it's a normal thing for a 17-year-old girl to have sex with her 17-year-old boyfriend, you know. It's normal. They love each other. It's like, you know, it's part of their relationship. And it does not really have sex in Mara Dyer, like at least not in the two novels that I've read so far. But there's definitely like the reason why Noah and Mara don't have sex is like it has to do with her powers and everything, and them being super careful about it. It's kind of like the Twilight effect, but like it sort of is a little bit steamy the way that it's described, like when they are like all over each other, and they definitely do want each other, and there's like a lot of passion and a lot of sexual tension, but because of different things they can't really you know, explore that further, because if they do, then well, someone might die actually, which is a great metaphor, you know, kids, you have sex and then you die. But it is a part, like I liked the swearing, at least I thought it was really funny, I thought it was really great, because like teenagers swear. I mean, I was a teenager, I swore like a sailor sometimes, you know. I think it's normal, I think it's part of daily life, you know, swearing, and I just hate it when like in YA, in a lot of novels, just before someone's about to say the F word or something happens and it's like it's cut off mid-sentence, like a horn blares like super loud, or they say something like ass hat, and I'm like, what the hell is an ass hat even? It makes no sense. A hat for your ass? What? Why? So Mara Dyer has none of that shenanigans, and I find it so funny, especially when Noah swears, because he's just like, I don't know, he really grew on me. At first I really hated him because he really reminded me of Edward of Twilight. But he's like, he's his own person. He's really cool. Like, I wish I had a boyfriend like Noah Shaw. Like, I'm sorry, I do. Another thing that I found really cool was that the setting was Florida, which I find unusual for YA, because usually the setting is like, if it's like real world, whatever, it will usually be like New England, and it's gonna be a forest. And because forests are awesome, and you want the setting to be a forest, and it's like, there's so much more potential to create a creepy atmosphere in the forest. But in this novel, it's Florida, and I think it's Miami. I think. Unfortunately, like you're not really aware that it's Florida unless you're like reminded of like the heat or the humidity or like crocodiles or something, which kind of sucks in my opinion, because I'm like, the setting is a huge thing for me. Like, I'm one of these people who really care about the setting of a novel. I know that some people don't give a shit about it. Like, as long as the plot is tight and it's action driven, which it is, by the way, like, you don't really need to know that this is Florida to enjoy it. Like, honestly, it does not matter. It could have been in, like, Ontario, like, or, like, I don't know, like, China, whatever. It would not have made a lot of difference, I'm guessing. But if you're the kind of person who really likes an interesting setting, an exotic setting, and for me the setting was pretty exotic, and I thought to myself, I don't know anything about Florida, I want to learn, you know, teach me. But, like, other than, like, knowing that there's, like, a little Havana there, and, like, it's really hot and really humid, which I kind of knew beforehand, I didn't really learn anything, which is a shame, because in Twilight, the climate and the atmosphere were like a huge part, and it really influenced me, because I am one of those people who do like to sort of know where they are, who do like to learn new things about their surroundings, even if it's like unreal, whatever. I do want to be aware of it, and like, you know, if you think Harry Potter, you think, oh, cool, like Hogwarts, and if you think Twilight, you think like Washington. And if you're thinking of, like, I don't know, like Hunger Games, you're like, oh, Rocky Mountains. In Mara Dyer, Florida is not the first thing that comes to mind, which is a shame, because I think that it's such a unique setting, and I wish Michelle Hawken would have developed it way more. Another thing is mental illness. So mental illness is a big part of this novel, and I think it's really great because mental illness is gaining so much awareness nowadays, and maybe this novel was a little bit ahead of its time. So there were moments for me, like, I'm sorry if I sound naive just now, but there were moments when I was wondering if Mara was actually seeing um, what she did, or it was like all in her head. Because she is put in this like special school for kids who have mental issues, and then she's sent to an outpatient program to this pretty intense like lockdown facility, which reminds me of Alcatraz. I mean, it was frightening. Like, I did not want to be in her shoes, like, because granted, she did have special powers and special abilities, and the reason why everything was going on with her was because, she had these special powers, but the great part of it all was that, she just, like, found herself in a very bad situation, because I thought to myself, okay, imagine that you don't really have control over half of the shit that you're doing, and people are thinking that you're crazy, and you're doing crazy things that you have no control over. Like, how long before you really start questioning your own sanity? And I think that this was a great topic in the novel. Like, obviously we find out that she's not really crazy, I'm sorry, like, she was not really insane. But, I mean, imagine if she was. Imagine if we find out that this whole thing is going on in her head. And there is like a third novel called The Retribution of Mara Dyer. So imagine if I find out all of a sudden, it is all happening in her head. That's frightening. Anyhow, because mental illness is getting so much awareness nowadays, I think in that sense, that book is great. I hope my opinion is not going to change in book 3, but this is what I think. Another cool thing, and we're getting to the end of the list, yay, is animals. There's a lot of animal cruelty in this novel. Like, animals die. Like, they're being put in cages at some point. They are, like, having rocks thrown at them. They are dying because people are sucking the life force out of them. So if you're the kind of person that really dislikes animal cruelty, I thought it was really like tough passages for me to read, but it's not really the main part, but it is a part of it, and I think it is important because animal cruelty is awful, it's horrifying, and it's happening every day all over the world, and you do have this in this novel, and I think it's another important issue that is addressed, because I think it does not get enough attention. Moving on to something a little brighter. So this has a lot of like mixed heritage, and like Mara herself, she's half Indian. Her mom is Indian, and this is sort of where genetics and genetic memory come into play. And her best friend Jamie is black and he's Jewish, which I found was really cool because it's like a very interesting combination. And he's a really smart, funny character. And he has a lot of issues, definitely, but he's like a great addition to the story, and Mara really cares about him, and she really loves him, and there's this, and he definitely cares about her. So their relationship is sort of, not drama-free entirely, but it's really cool, and I do like him. He doesn't get as much spotlight, but he does feel like his own person, and he does feel like a very vibrant, important character. So the ending is like a cliffhanger. I really want to read the third book now, but I'm gonna take a little break so I can build up that expectation and that tension. Another thing that I liked is that the villains are human, like, at least in, like, the second novel. It's not like an evil, like, overlord, or a corrupt politician, or some vampire / immortal person / werewolf. Like, I don't know what motivates the bad guys in this novel, but I like the fact that they are human and they are real. And surprisingly, a lot of the bad things that are going on in this novel are motivated by love. Like, it's crazy. Like, the antagonist of the story is motivated by love, which is it kind of blew my mind when I thought about it. He was not motivated simply by revenge or, gaining powers. He was motivated by like loving, by getting someone he loved back. Mara is motivated by love because she wants to be with Noah, she wants to save her family, she wants to save her friends. She's like all around good, savvy, not helpless person. And you do root for her because she's very smart, she's likable if you do give her a chance. She's very likable. She has her shit together for most of the time. She doesn't really need Noah to tell her what to do, and he's not like the bossy love interest that we usually get in YA. So I thought that that was really cool, that instead of, trying to stop the end of the world or bringing a tyrant down or whatever, Mara Dyer is all about love. Like, it's all about, you know, saving who is important to you. She's not on some grand mission to, save the world or, bring down the super, like, uber, like, evil guy. She's just fighting this. I mean, maybe there's, like, a huge, like, secret organization behind the whole thing, but so far it's like she has no idea what's going on, but she doesn't have this idea in mind like Katniss wanted to bring down President Snow, kind of. And in Harry Potter there was Voldemort, who was like really evil and really racist, and the same goes for Infernal Devices and Immortal Instruments. And I think most YA, like Divergent, there's always going to be this uber villain, and the purpose of the main heroine will be to bring him down and destroy him. But not in Mara Dyer, which I liked, in all fairness. It was more real, because how many times we are doing things that are motivated purely by love? Like, we don't feel like we have this grand cause or whatever. We just want to save the people we love. We just want to be with the people we love. And the person who stands in our way is not like, a corrupt politician. It's some dude that we have to like take down or whatever. So this is my thought on, these are my thoughts on The Evolution of Mara Dyer. 4 out of 5, very generous, I'm aware. If you think that this is your kind of thing, read it, give it a shot. It's really, really nice. I think it's a really cool trilogy. I hope I'm not gonna change my mind when I'm gonna read the third one. Anyhow, keep an open mind. Try to, because like I said, it's really easy to hate on YA, but I mean, try not to. Try to see the positive. Thank you. Bye.